M157 oil pump solenoid. This solenoid you're not going to find only on the M157 or M278 or M159. You can find different engines. Few things before I continue. I have a reason why I make this video. This is the oil pump housing. This outside's magnesium, all right? The inner piece, it's steel, all right? Out of steel. And the impeller, the inner gear, it spins inside of this housing, all right? That's the inner housing. There is one spring here to make sure that this housing, it's always, as you can see now, the pump to the right side. That means the inner gear, the fins are very near to the housing here. When it's actuating the solenoid, this one, it's shifting to the left. So it has much different clearance. It has much more clearance. It's providing not the same pressure. It's providing flow, but not that much pressure because it's far away. All right? I hope that you understand what I'm saying. It's making this movement, actually. That's the movement that's doing. This tiny movement, left and right, it goes left and right. On this position as this right now, if the solenoid doesn't get any signal, doesn't get electricity, it's in maximum capacity. It's coming 100% oil pressure. All right? When it's actuating the solenoid, it goes to the minimum. Now, should you cancel it? Should you unplug it? Should you deactivate it? Should you deactivate it from the coding? One second, let me open also this page that I opened before. This will be better. This is the inner gear of the pump with the fins that has here. That's the housing outside, that this is the one that's moving. Obviously the gear and the impeller inside the inner gear, it doesn't move, it's rotating. But the housing, it can tilt it. It can change the position. All right? So, should you unplug it? You cannot say yes or not. That's the reason I'm plugging it all the time. That's why I'm not removing from the coding. It's very simple. What's the reason? What's the reason? There are some standards, like if the customer, he's making an oil change every 15,000 kilometers, the oil is not going to last for 15,000 kilometers when it's fully, let us say, in default position, when you don't actuate the pump. So there might be some people out there that they're changing the oil every 15,000 kilometers. That's what they're suggesting from the factory, all right? You're not going to have the same, the oil is not going to survive for 15,000 kilometers if this function it's not active. I hope that makes sense what I'm saying. Then you are stressing much more the oil pump if you deactivate it, if you deactivate this function and you're running, let us say, you're running an engine in Alaska, in a cold country, in North Europe, as an example, that you have in a cold start -5, -10 degrees. This is not going to shift the inner housing from the gear, so you're going to put much more stress on the oil pump. So, again, you're stressing much more the oil pump. The oil is not going to last 15,000 kilometers because it's going to be always compressed. It's going to be always on a maximum capacity. All right? Yes, the engine performs better when you have maximum oil pressure. I'm with you on that. Here in this country, that we don't have a cold start, it does have any problem if you deactivate it, to be honest. Some people, they are deactivating the solenoid. Either they are pulling the plug and they don't have a check engine. You're lucky. 1 second to finish the guys. So I was saying that if you deactivate it through the coding, through the software, or if you just unplug it, yeah, okay. If you see difference, that means the crankshaft main bearings, connector bearings, the camshaft journal up, or the tensioners, timing chain tensioners, they have some run out, they have some extra leak. It's escaping some oil pressure from there. That's why you saw difference. And as soon as you unplug it and you provide more oil pressure, it's much more silent and it's run much more smooth at the engine. On a healthy engine, if you unplug it or if you plug it, you're not going to see any difference. That's the reason why some people, they don't see any difference. Keep in mind, sometimes also the oil pump has some wear, and as soon as you deactivate it, it's producing more pressure. So if you combine these things, that means there are some people, they're pulling the plug out, they're deactivating, and they don't see any difference. There are some other people, they are pulling the plug out, and they see that the engine is running much more smooth, it's much more responding, and it's much better, let us say. They feel the difference. This has to do with the wear that has the pump, with the wear that has the timing chain tensioners, because you have 3 on the M157, with the wear that has the connector bearings, crankshaft main bearings, how much oil is escaping, with the wear that has the cylinder head cover when it's holding down the camshafts. If it has extra wear, it's going to start escaping, or the rate of leak that has each cam adjuster. So it's better, it's worse, it is what it is. Me, I haven't decided yet, to be honest. For me, I'm not unplugging, I'm not removing it from the coding, only if the owner, he asks me to do it. If he's fully aware what's going on, is it bad? It's not only for the emissions or the fuel efficiency, to me at least. That's why, okay, it failed one solenoid on me, and we lost one engine on the M59, on an SLS, back in the days, all right? It failed and it's stuck on the minimum capacity. That's very rare. This is like you win the lotto, I don't know. So it might happen, yes, it's very rare. Yeah, you're looking at something 1 in a billion to be so lucky. Yeah. And again, on the SLS was informing you inside on the instrument cluster that you didn't have an oil pressure, but somebody was continuing operating the engine. That's a different story. So again, you cannot say disconnected or connected. If the owner, he's expecting to last the oil for 15,000 kilometers, if you deactivate it, it's not gonna be an oil. I hope that makes sense what I'm saying. In any case, just balance it. See, depends the application. There is also the other thing. It depends the load, it depends the RPMs, it's activating the solenoid or not. If your type of driving, of the style of driving of the car, let us say you apply, as an example, as a scenario, you apply 60% load, all right, up to 3,000 RPMs. And you're shifting with the paddles that has on the steering wheel, all right? And you have 60% load and 3,000 RPMs. And in this scenario, the solenoid, it's keeping minimum amount of oil pressure, all right? But you are on the limit. That means you're on the limit to activate it or to don't activate it. But because we are talking about software, and you're on the limit, if it doesn't meet the standards, let us say at 61% load, it's gonna activate it, all right? Or after 3,000 or 3,500 RPMs, it will gonna activate it, as an example, all right? So when you are going there and you're shifting manually, example, it might suffer the engine later on because you're not going to have an oil pressure on the connector bearings, on the crankshaft main bearings. I'm just giving one scenario. It's similar to the wear that you're going to see on the cam adjuster plates on the M156. It depends the driving attitude of an owner. Sometimes you see that they have so much wear, the intake camshafts, because always advancing, it depends how you're driving, on which load and which RPMs. And there are some other cases, some other cars that have a wear only the exhaust camshafts. So the cam adjusters, I'm talking about the plates. You cannot put it all in one bag and say, yes, I'm gonna cancel it, or no, I'm gonna have it active. It depends the case. It depends. That's why you have to be fully aware of what's going on. And me personally, I cannot say, yes, deactivated or activated. If you're fully aware, if you understand what's the reason, and if you are reasonable and you're saying that, you know what, yeah, obviously I'm not going to keep my oil for 15,000 kilometers because, I abuse my car. I have run it, let us say, on average 5,000 RPMs. I have mentioned this 1 million times. I have mentioned that before. You can get two owners. One is going to be, example, 20 years old, all right, and the other one is going to be 50 years old. The 20 years old is going to be pedal to the metal every day, like one friend of mine that I have here, all right? He is pedal to the metal every day. All right, and the other guy, he's gonna go to the highway, cruise control, we're gonna driving normal cruising. One guy, he can keep the oil for 15,000 kilometers. The other guy, it's impossible to give it for 15. You're gonna missing a liter of oil at 6,000 kilometers probably. So balance it. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong to unplug it. Just be aware of why it's there. It might be for the emissions and for the fuel efficiency, for the parasitic losses, but this function is going to extend the life of the oil. Regarding the cooling jets, the piston oil jets, the piston cooling jets, they need 25, usually 23 to 25 psi to win the check valve that has inside and start spraying. That means, yes, in some cases when it's idling, when it doesn't have more than 25 psi, with 25 psi it's 1.3 bar. If it does have 1.3 bar of oil pressure, it will not gonna spray any oil under the pistons to cool it down. And again, when you're on idle, it doesn't matter, right? Why to spray oil there? It has, by the way, the pump, it has a ball with a spring here that's acting as a regulator valve, oil pressure regulator valve. It has already, all right? It's not relying only on the solenoid. That means if you deactivate the solenoid, you're not gonna jump the oil pressure to the sky because there is a mechanical check valve here, oil pressure valve, sorry. There is one stainless steel ball, like a ball bearing with one spring behind. Classic setup like in the most oil pumps, all right? But again, me personally, I cannot say unplug it or plug it. Read about it, check your application, driving attitude, style, what oil you are using, when you are changing the oil, and then start from there, you know? That's it. It's 12 minutes video, fucked up. I hope that you understand what I'm saying from the point of what I explain right now, from my English, from my accent. Yeah, good luck. That's it. Over and out. Thank you.